Depending on when you're watching this, I recently put out a video on Skyrim's spookiest quests. In said video, I asked all you lovely folks what other quests should have been added to the list. The most requested one that I saw was Frostflow Abyss. For multiple reasons, the quest wasn't on my radar for the Halloween special. Truthfully, I had never even played through the mission before, so I wasn't quite sure what to expect. However, after reading some of the comments and discovering what the quest entailed, I knew I had to cover it, especially while it's still spooky season. So, in today's video, I wanted to discuss the horrors and terrors that lurk beneath the Frostflow Lighthouse. The quest, which we'll call Frostflow Abyss, is a miscellaneous quest and might be easy to miss. Just saying, lots of miscellaneous quests in the game. However, once you stumble onto it and watch on as the story unfolds, it'll be hard to tear your eyes away. The quest begins with the Dragonborn venturing through the northern tundra of Skyrim. There are very few marked roads in these parts, so the clearest pathway across is almost always the best bet. In between the holds of Dawnstar and Winterhold, there are very few inhabited spaces. Besides the odd legionnaire or hunter's camp, you'll mostly cross paths with Skyrim's dangerous wildlife with a type of people who aren't exactly friendly. Either way, as the hour grows late and the weather takes a turn for the worse, the player looks for a place to take refuge. Not far from landmarks like Driftshade Refuge and Alftant, the Dragonborn spots a beacon in the dark. Literally, there's a lighthouse, Frostflow Lighthouse, and similar to what it does for sailors, it's practically a guiding light for the player through the night. With a burning brazier, the Dragonborn begins to veer towards the outpost. Maybe the folks there are hospitable and good-natured. Lighthouse keepers are typically secluded, and some company for the night might be welcomed. As the player gets closer to the tower, they see something on the horizon. Just before the lighthouse, there's some obstruction on the road. Pulling up to the object, alarm bells start to go off. The thing in the road is a dead horse, and from the looks of it, it was recently slain. The horse definitely belonged to someone. It's outfitted with a saddle and some packs. Very quickly, the lighthouse turns from a beacon of hope to a warning sign. Dismounting their steed, the Dragonborn begins to look around the outside. On the south side of the building, there's a door leading to the interior. On the west side, there's a boarded up well, a small garden, and a locked door. It's only secured by a novice lock, but unfortunately, there's not much in there that helps to tell the story. The other two sides of the lighthouse simply offer views of the Sea of Ghosts and Skyrim's Great White North. Wary, the Dragonborn decides to see the lighthouse through, as the mystery has only just begun. Entering Frostflow, the scene changes from gruesome to horrific. There are splatters of blood all over the stone walls and floors. The central chamber holds the terrifying scene of a brutal death. A woman, stripped of her clothes, has a strange-looking axe plunged in her stomach. She's lying in a pool of blood, and there are clearly signs of a struggle. Across from her, by the fireplace, there's a great big insect, known as a chorus. Another thing, the player starts to hear this repetitive chatter coming from somewhere in the lighthouse. They just can't quite place where though. Slowly, the Dragonborn starts to piece the story together. However, luckily for them, the story has already told itself. The woman's name is Ramadi, and in her inventory, there's a journal that belongs to someone named Habd. Taking it, it reads, "After years of sailing from Hammerfell to Solstheim and back, Ramadi and I have finally saved enough money to buy that old lighthouse we spotted on the coast, and we're moving in next month. These Nords really know how to live. It may be cold, but you can't beat the tranquility of the watching icebergs to live out your silver years." Ramadi loves the place too, despite the occasional leaky ceiling. Manny and Sudi, unfortunately, seem miserable here. I know the kids are old enough to strike out on their own, but I hope they'll grow to love the peace and quiet here as I have. Manny and Sudi continue to bicker and harass each other, and they seem to have started in on their mother as well. Ramadi keeps finding things missing from the cellar. Sudi said she heard a noise down there, but Manny just thinks their mother is going mad from isolation. The very thought of it is ridiculous. She's always wanted to retire here. Sudi keeps saying that she hears scratching coming from the cellar at night. I think she's just trying to get her mother's goat, but I'd better head into town to get a few traps just in case it's skeevers. Should only take a couple of days. I just hope those two go easy on Ramadi while I'm gone. Oh gods, why? I returned home to find my beautiful Ramadi killed, and this horrible bug-like creature ransacking our home. I managed to kill the damn thing. I think it might be a Daedra. I've never seen anything like it. Oh gods, poor Ramadi. It must have come out of the cellar. I'm going down there and locking the door behind me to make sure they don't escape. I don't know if I'll make it out, but I have to save my family. Signed, Habd. From the central chamber, there are a few doors that lead to some side rooms. Within the northern chamber, the struggle clearly continued, as blood is splattered all over the floors and walls here too. For the most part, the items here are what you'd expect: odds, ends, trinkets, clothes, heirlooms, etc. However, on the small dining table towards the front of the room, there's a second journal, and this one belongs to Sudi. Picking it up, it reads, "I hate it here. Why did we have to move to Skyrim anyway? I miss the big port cities. There was always something to do and new people around. Or even being cabin girl on one of the ships we used to sail on would be better than this. Manny says we should run away, but I can't leave mother and father alone out here. Oh, what to do? We've been here for 2 months now, and there's nothing to do. From the top of the lighthouse, we can see all the way to the college at Winterhold, but father says that magic is for Daedra worshippers. The only interesting thing to have happened lately is that mother snapped at us at dinner and accused us of stealing things out of the cellar. I did hear scratching down there the other night, but I thought it was just father cleaning fish. I caught Manny in the cellar a couple days ago going through some of the barrels and crates. At first, I thought it was him all along making those scratches to play a trick on me, but I heard them again last night and Manny was in bed. Father finally said he would go get some traps and poison from town in case it's skeevers. I'm really scared. It doesn't sound like skeevers to me. Manny won't listen. He thinks I'm just making up the noises and keeps sneaking into the cellar. Oh, why is he so stupid sometimes? I don't know why he keeps going down there, but I found the cellar key he copied and hid it in mother's favorite keepsake so he won't find it. The scratching is getting louder. Looking around the rest of the room, there's one other item of interest in here. Underneath one of the beds, there's a knapsack. Rummaging through it, the Dragonborn finds a letter from Manny, among other goods. These goods look like what someone might take if they were about to head off on some long expedition. Unfolding Manny's letter, it reads, "Sudi, I know you've been making up that stuff about the noises in the basement to try to get me to stay, but I'm only waiting till father gets home so you and mother are safe. You could always come meet up with me before I head back to Hammerfell. Take care of yourself, little sister. Signed, Manny." Leaving the kids' room, the player makes their way into the northeastern chamber, aka the parents' bedroom. Here, there are more odds and sods, miscellaneous goods that don't reveal much. However, on the nightstand by the bed, there's a third journal. This one belongs to Ramadi, the torn-up Redguard in the other room. Cracking it open, it reads, "We finally did it. We bought the lighthouse. I thought Habd was just making idle promises all these years. What husband doesn't want to promise their wife the 2 moons from the sky? But I didn't think we'd actually manage to get it. Now, if only I could find where we put everything. I can't find my favorite cooking pot, and it is slightly infuriating. Sudi and Manny seem unhappy, but they're still young and don't seem to understand that we just want to spend a few more years with them before they leave us to see the world. I know they think their father will live forever, but I see his age creeping into his eyes. He made me promise again that when he died, I would put his bones in the lighthouse fire so he could look out over the ocean forever. Oh, those two get to me sometimes. I went to unpack some of our keepsakes from the trading ships we used to sail, but I can't find them. Sudi keeps saying she's hearing something in the basement at night, and Manny suggested it was skeevers. They know I hate skeevers. Now I'm too scared to go down there at all. I'm glad I unpacked my favorite urn and put it safely on the mantle before those two started causing mischief. If they put a skeever in the basement, I swear. From here, the most obvious thing to do is to proceed into the cellar. By the entranceway, there are 2 locked doors, one facing the east and one facing the west. The issue is that both are secured by pretty difficult locks. The one with trails of blood leading to it, the cellar door itself, is secured by a master lock. While it is technically pickable, there is a rather subtle clue that leads the Dragonborn to the key. In both Ramadi and Sudi's journals, they call attention to an urn that's on the mantle above the fireplace. Looking inside of it, the kids had placed a copy of the cellar key in there. Taking it, it unlocks the eastern door, and cautiously, the player descends to the depths of the Frostflow Lighthouse. Important to remember too is that up until this point, the player has been hearing this off-putting chatter. It's a rapid clicking noise that seems to have been coming from below the central area. Following the steps down, the blood trail leads to the icy bottom of the building. Turning the corner, the player sees the source of the chattering. 2 more of the chorus are scuttering around, eagerly awaiting their next meal. The Dragonborn defeats them in combat and has a look around the place. In terms of items and corpses, there isn't anything to note in this area. However, there is a hole on the southern wall of the cellar. The hole leads into the frozen earth, a new zone called Frostflow Abyss. The entrance of the abyss has some of the family's containers and goods scattered around it. At the end of the tunnel, there's more blood and it leads into a decently sized chamber. If it wasn't already made obvious, the family of Redguards had fallen prey to the Falmer and their chorus companions. By the fire, the Dragonborn finds the second body of the lighthouse inhabitants. It's Manny's corpse, and it looks like he was almost made into a meal. Other than some basic items, there isn't anything of interest on or near him. There aren't any letters or journals regarding the situation. Continuing through the abyss, the player is met with more Falmer, chorus, and even some frostbite spiders. According to lore and from the player's own experiences, it's common for the snow elves to kidnap people. They torture them, they kill them, they use them as slaves, and they evidently feed them to the chorus. Years of torture and mutation have led to them developing a hatred for the surface dwellers. Beyond that, their motive and intentions are unclear. Really, it's all about warring with the overworld, and lore can't help whoever gets caught up in the Falmer's way. Eventually, the player lands on another open chamber. The Falmer have a tight presence here, and as the battle rages on, the Dragonborn see something in the corner of their eye. There's a fenced-off pen of sorts, and on the inside, there's the corpse of a Redguard woman. Once the coast is clear, the player looks into the pen and discovers that this is the body of Sudi, the second child of Habd and Ramadi. Lying near her is a torch, a dagger, and 2 letters. One of them is clean, while the other is all bloody. Reading the scrawled page first, it says, "I don't know how long we've been down here. Father came down to find us, but those things captured him as well. I asked him if he'd seen Mother or Manny, but I don't know if he could even hear me. One of those big bugs bit him when he tried to get free, and now he's feverish." Then, turning their attention to the bloodstained note, the Dragonborn begins to read that one. They took Father. There had been some others they brought down, but they let them off, and all we heard were the screams, and now Father is gone too. Oh gods, why didn't I listen to Manny? Father's fever was getting worse and kept mumbling about Daedra. I don't know where he was hiding it, but I think I know why he left me this dagger. Continuing through the abyss, the Dragonborn delves further into the earth, and with it, they keep on running into more creatures of the deep. After a certain point too, the player has surpassed the point of no return. The ledges are too high to get back up to, and the only possible way out is forward. Soon, after meandering through the ice tunnels and the chorus breeding grounds, the Dragonborn lands at the final area. It's where the quest marker has been leading them to this whole time. One final cavern that's filled with the giant insects. Minor chorus, hunter fledglings, and finally, the murderer of the Redguard family, the Chorus Reaper. The Reaper is 4 times the size of the normal chorus. It has spindly legs. Its pincers are wide and are as hard as steel. The chitin scales provide it with almost impenetrable armor, and the bile it spits is poisonous and deadly. It's a formidable foe and one even the Dragonborn would have trouble taking down. However, in the end, the player always wins, and soon, Frostflow Abyss falls silent. Looking through the Reaper's inventory, aka the bowels of its stomach, the player discovers what happened to Habd, the final member of the Redguard family. His mashed up remains could be pulled out of the insect. With his bones and flesh, there's also the key to the lighthouse itself. Technically, with the death of the Reaper, the quest has come to an end. However, if you were paying attention, there's still one matter that needs to be dealt with. Luckily for the Dragonborn, the cold, frozen depths start to wind their way back up. There's a small crack in the ice that leads the player back to the first section of the abyss. This then brings them back up to the lighthouse's cellar and away from the frozen bloodbath. The lighthouse key ends up unlocking the door across from the cellar. It's a smaller area here, but it leads up to a ladder which exits back out into Skyrim. Taking it, the player is brought to the top of Frostflow Lighthouse. Here, there are some incredible views of the Sea of Ghosts, a boss-level chest, and of course, there's the final part to this quest. As per Ramadi's journal, Habd had one dying wish. He wanted his remains tossed into the lighthouse's fire so that he can overlook the sea for the rest of eternity. Activating the brazier, Habd's remains are removed from the Dragonborn's inventory, and the player is granted with a new permanent effect. Sailor's Repose's effect makes it so that the caster's healing spells cure 10% more. With that matter now taken care of, the Dragonborn's adventure comes to an end. They not only discovered the gruesome story of the lighthouse's new owners, but they made it a little safer for the future inhabitants. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I actually had never heard of this quest before. Frostflow Abyss was simply fantastic. What I think makes it even better is that it's a miscellaneous quest. It wasn't meant to be a big part of the game or its events. It was meant to be a tragic scene that the player stumbled across in their free time. an isolated event that really only the player gets to experience and learn about. Everyone else involved at Frostflow is dead. The Redguard family, the Falmer, the Chorus, they're all dead and gone. It's just the Dragonborn who lives on and has the privilege or curse of reliving this moment. Of course, through the readings of the letters and journals, the player learns that this was a case of wrong place, wrong time. A horrific tale as old as time itself. An innocent family moves into a new place, only to discover that it already has inhabitants. The old owners don't want to share it, and in fact, have ulterior motives when it comes to the new inhabitants. Now, for those who want the story told as linear as possible, using the writings, this is how I would piece together the family's events. It seems as though the father, Habd, was getting older and or having a midlife crisis. With the family's life savings, they all moved from Hammerfell to Skyrim's coast. The parents, Habd and Ramadi, loved the idea of settling down for a quieter life, aka becoming the new lighthouse keepers of Frostflow. Meanwhile, the two children who weren't quite kids, Manny and Sooty, were reluctant to make the move. Their life was back in Hammerfell. They're young and want to pave their own path in life. They wanted to experience the world, not get locked up and tucked away in the corner of Skyrim. Manny, coming up with a bold decision, decides that he wants to run away from Frostflow. He wants to return to the culture and life of Hammerfell, and he urges Sooty to come with him. Sooty, perhaps a little more loyal to her parents, is torn. She desperately wants to return to her old life too, but she doesn't want to leave her parents behind. Although meanwhile, Habd intends on Frostflow being his final resting place, and Ramadi seemed content with the family's life here. During their brief tenure at the lighthouse, the family reports hearing strange noises coming from the cellar. Scratching, clawing, chittering. They all believe that the noises were coming from one another, whether on purpose or by accident. They'd frequently go down there to check things out, but they wouldn't see anything out of the ordinary. One day, Habd decides to travel by horse to the nearest town. He's looking for pest poisons, as the leading theory is that it's skeevers. Upon his return, he discovers the horrific scene that the Dragonborn stumbles onto. Ramadi has been brutally killed, and his children are missing. After killing the chorus, he heads down to the cellar in search of his kids. From there, it seems as though Manny was already dead, and the sole survivors were Habd and Sooty. During his search, one of the chorus bit Habd, and the poison had set in. He was delirious and mumbling nonsense about Daedra. For a brief time, the father and daughter were together, but soon, Habd was pulled away, and in his last moments, he slid a dagger to Sooty. From there, Habd was fed to the Chorus Reaper, and we're led to believe that Sooty either took her own life with a dagger, or she fended off the Falmer until she was tortured and killed. It's certainly not a happy ending by any means, and even with the Dragonborn delivering justice, the tragic deaths of this Redguard family will forever haunt the Frostflow Lighthouse. Now, there are some interesting questions to think about here. Why was Ramadi naked when the player had found her? Why was she holding Hab's journal? Why was Hab so insistent that these were Daedra? How long were the Falmer plotting this? What happened to the previous lighthouse owners? And what was the dagger ultimately used for? Thank you to everyone who suggested this quest. Without your comments, I don't know how I would have found out about this one. I'm sure I would have somehow, but thanks to you, I got to cover it during spooky season. With that being said, I'd love to know your thoughts on it down below, and until next time, keep on adventuring.